All right, Bev, please introduce yourself, what you do here, who you are, how long you've been here. Go ahead.
Okay, my name is Bev, and I have been here since 2011. So you do the math. And I work with the kids. I work with kids and young families.
Awesome. And this month we're celebrating women, and we want to hear the stories of the women in our church. And you've been a pastor here, influencing our young people and growing our young people, and we want to hear your story. And so our first question we have for you, what has it meant for you to be a woman in your communities, in your circles, the places that you have been?
I think a lot of love, that's one thing, just a lot of love. But I come from a pretty big family, so I'm one of 8 children and one of 5 girls. And so in a pretty traditional Hispanic family, my parents are from El Salvador, born and raised, and they migrated early 70s out to California. But they brought their heritage and their traditions with them. And so over the years, it's meant, you are a caretaker. That's automatically assumed. You're a caretaker. You're someone who knows how to cook. You're somebody who knows how to take care of a home. And so that has been beautiful because, that's kind of a shared responsibility. But for growing up, there was definitely a difference between the way that the boys in our home were raised and the way that girls were raised in our home. In fact, I will call my mom out on this, but we joke about it all the time, so she won't be offended. She used to say to us, you have to know how to cook and clean and wash your clothes or nobody will want to marry you. And so it's very much like a, what? Which is, later on became a little bit troublesome in our mind because then we grew up in less of that kind of society, right? Like that less traditional, but it was definitely in our home. But I have to say that growing up, that was beautiful. It wasn't, because so many of our community was, Latino, Hispanic, then it meant that we were kind of all on the same page. You all had this understanding that this is what women's role were. And then throughout the years, that has meant different things, being a pastor here, that has meant that you're kind of holding a different level of responsibility. Not that our male pastors don't have that same responsibility, but certainly with, women's history in all of the U.S. history and then also women's history within the church, then that comes with a different kind of heaviness or a different level of responsibility, if you will.
Yeah. Along those lines, as you explained to us how it has meant different things in different settings that you have been in, that you pour your time into. What do you celebrate about being a woman?
Everything. Just that we are, I just think it's so cool that we are built differently physically, emotionally. There's just so many different ways that we, see the world through our eyes. It's just such a different, and I think a beautiful reflection of, the image of God, like pouring into a feminine creature. Even though both men and women have, like, the feminine is embodied differently in us, but certainly in women in a really unique way that I think is beautiful. So yeah, I think being able to connect with other women no matter where you go. Sometimes it feels like it's more like language than it is necessarily being a woman, but certainly you walk into a room and there's a bunch of Spanish-speaking, women, that changes the dynamic really different in a room. When you go to women's conferences, the conversations are very different than if you were to go to a conference specifically tailored for men, or when it's, men and women kind of thing, or just all sorts of different kinds of people. So I think there's a lot of uniqueness. And I like to lean into the good. I like to lean into celebrating means that it's exciting to be in the body that you have and all the ways that it enriches, everybody else who's around you.
Yeah. What we like to ask, just kind of to counter that, is what are the pains you faced because you're a woman?
I feel like early on when I was in grade school, I remember from boys there is a huge pressure to look a certain kind of beauty. And that for women, that has always been a struggle, that beauty is defined in a really specific way, and that there's always been a kind of like a self-competitive kind of thing that happens. You beat yourself up if you don't look a certain way. And I'm a woman in a brown body, right, with different features than that which, when I was a kiddo, were celebrated that were very different from my own. So it's taken me a while to fully embody that and embrace that. But certainly as a kid or growing up, that was something that was very, pretty loud in the background for me. And I think as you get older, that kind of changes in different spaces. And I know as a pastor, that has meant really different things. I'm so lucky to say that I haven't experienced too much pain in being a woman who's a leader in a church. But I know I have a lot of colleagues who have, and it's really difficult to hear other women's pain. And moments where pain has been caused to them for no other reason than because they're a woman, and some of it is society letting us know that, oh, we're not capable of doing a certain something because we are women, and that work is for men, or those opportunities are for men. So that has been, I think, really tough to watch, and tough to kind of realize that you are in this group of identified peoples in the world, that some other peoples in the world have troubles or doubts with, right? And so when it really is when other women carry that pain, you start to carry that pain too. Yeah. Because if they're unwell, then you're unwell, and if they're unsafe, it's likely unsafe for you too. So,
in this Christian context, in societal context worldwide, we are surrounded by a patriarchal society, imposing like a supremacy for men, sadly, and this is what exists around us. But we know today we have very little excuse to be unaware that we need to be better. Where do you think someone needs to start if they want to unlearn or move forward and be accepting and break off any sort of toxic things that we have learned so that we can love everyone equally, especially women?
I think really similar to the themes that came up last month for Black History Month. I think a lot of it was leaning in and listening and getting to know people. That every time that you feel like you have a specific opinion about women, that you lean into that and figure out, where did you get this idea? Who did you learn it from? And is that really how you feel? And if it is, to ask yourself, go internal, and to really ask ourselves, what am I afraid of? Why do I feel threatened about this situation? When a woman is in leadership, when the woman is the president of an organization, when the woman is the lead pastor of a community, right? All of the ways insert women in positions that we usually see men in. Why am I so troubled if a woman were to take that role, right? And we'll start to really uncover some stuff that we didn't really realize. So I think you have to just start peeling the layers, and we have to stop blaming it on the larger society, because larger society is made of individuals. So we each have a responsibility to peel the layers within self so that we can start to really make those changes, because change is that one person at a time. And then we'll find that society starts to shift because we've all been doing the internal work together.
Awesome. Thank you, Bev. Your story means so much, and you're an inspiration to everybody, whether you know it or not. But I know that, exactly like you're saying, us as individuals can make the change where we are and make room to love more. So thank you.